Hello, hello, hello. How are you all doing? Welcome to the 2025 Monash University 3-minute thesis and Visualize Your Thesis final, including those who are joining us online. How are we doing, everyone? Are we well? Woo! Are we excited? We're energized, enthusiastic, and super excited for all our candidates in the room. For those of you that are just joining us from the back of the room, I'd invite you now to take your seats. If you're like me and you haven't yet put your mobile phone onto Do Not Disturb or off, I am literally going to do this right now. Please make sure you do as well. There's nothing worse than rehearsing a 3-minute speech for weeks and weeks and weeks, and having that disrupted by someone's 7 p.m. alarm. I'd also invite you, if you are taking photos tonight, we have a professional photographer in the room. If you are taking photos, please make sure the flash on your camera is off to not distract our candidates. Before we begin tonight's proceedings, I'd like to acknowledge where we're meeting today and pay my respects to the people of the Kulin Nations, the traditional owners of the unceded land, and where we are gathered here today. And I would like to pay my respects to elders past and present and any Indigenous colleagues in the room with us tonight. Research, as we know, is a place-based activity, and I think it's worth recognising our connection to place and how that shapes how we research and innovate into the future, and acknowledge the legacy of more than 60,000 years of research, innovation and creativity that has existed on where we're meeting right now. And I'd also like, at this moment, with the live stream going on in the back of the room, to acknowledge the Indigenous and traditional owners of the lands or wherever you might be, whether you're watching this recording in the future or joining us from one of the many, many locations that you might be hailing from tonight. Unlike all of our candidates, I have the luxury of notes. So I'm going to stick pretty close to my script because this next bit is really, really tricky. If we haven't had the pleasure before, my name is Dr. Troy McGee. I am the director of the Monash Research Experimentation and Discovery Program here at Monash, or Monash Red. Red is the link just beside the parking tab on the website if you Google us. I have the pleasure and the honour of working with researchers from across the whole university as part of my role in connecting undergraduates with the high-profile, impact and demand-driven research challenges that our research community in Monash are addressing, but our undergraduate student community don't have the opportunity to engage with very often. It's a real delight and a pleasure to be invited tonight to speak as the MC for this session, and I'm super excited to hear from all of our candidates as well. I got to see them rehearse a little bit earlier, and that was great too. I'd also like to introduce our judges for the night. Nellie, I apologise, I'm going to mispronounce your last name, so I might just go with Professor Nellie. Nellie is the Pro-Vice Chancellor for Research Training at Monash University and is responsible for leading and shaping the graduate research training agenda at Monash University in line with the broader university strategy. She's an internationally renowned for her pioneering work in Huntington's disease and Friedreich ataxia. Did I say that right? Excellent, off to a good start, and has discovered novel biomarkers for tracking disease progression, now used in early drug development to inform clinical trials. You'll notice in your booklets that Mr. Fabian Marone was listed in your program booklets. However, he's unfortunately unwell and couldn't be here tonight. Luckily, we have Amy Gledden. Amy is the Executive Director, Student Recruitment and Admissions, responsible for leading the functions that inform and deliver to the student load and revenue targets with a strong focus on the student profile. Prior to this role, Amy held the role of General Manager at the Faculty of Engineering, leading business and operational services, enabling academic research and education excellence. Amy has an extensive career at Monash with vast experience across a whole range of functions, including marketing, student recruitment, strategy, planning, and broader engagement on behalf of all the faculties. Amy, did I get that right? Fantastic. The notes really help, I have to say. It would have been a nightmare having to memorise all of this. I don't know what's in for our candidates. And last but of course not least, Dr. Alistair Hick. Alistair Hick is the inaugural Chief Commercialisation Officer at Monash University, leading a successful IP commercialisation program and innovation ecosystem. He's established a proof of concept and investment fund, including the $15 million Monash Breakthrough Victoria Pre-Seed Fund, and has strong partnerships with investors and industry. He's the director of several Monash spin-outs and investment funds and holds a PhD in chemical ecology and an MBA from Cambridge, and is a graduate of the Australian Institute of Company Directors. Alistair, I got that pretty good? Yeah, excellent. Can I have a round of applause for our judges? So as I mentioned before, tonight has two parts of the finals, but we will begin with a 3-minute thesis competition. Every year, universities all over the world hold the 3-minute thesis competition to celebrate the exciting research conducted by our PhD students and candidates. An 80,000-word thesis would take more than 9 hours to present, maybe a little bit faster, maybe 8.5 if you talk quickly. But our contestants tonight will have just 3 minutes. The competition began with local rounds, and our final is made up of the winners from each of the faculties, as well as the winner from Monash University, Malaysia, and the IITB-Monash Research Academy, a joint award with the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. Those two candidates have travelled with us to be here in person tonight. We're very delighted to have them here as well. A wildcard competition gave participants one last chance to reach the final, and the winner of that wildcard competition is also here to compete tonight. Tonight's winner will take home $5,000 and will go on to compete at the virtual Asia Pacific 3MT competition. The runner-up will receive $2,000, and the People's Choice Award winner, as voted by you at the end of the presentations, will win $500 courtesy of the Monash Graduate Association. Boom. I suspect if you're in this room physically, you're probably pretty familiar with the 3-minute thesis competition rules, but if you're not, let's refresh them right now. If you've been to a 3MT event before, you'll know that it's a static slide is permitted, presented from the beginning of oration. Oration is a fancy word for speaking. Oration is also a bad example of a buzzword, or rhetoric, or complex language which shouldn't be included in the presentation. Our candidates will know that already. No additional electronic media or props are permitted, so you can't use what I'm reading from here, everyone? You know that, yeah? Presentations are to be spoken word, no songs or raps are permitted, and presentations have commenced when the presenter starts their presentation through either movement or speech. Presentations are 3 minutes. We have a wonderful timing clock. I suspect the audience can't see that, but there's a very big 3-minute timer at the front of the room, and competitors exceeding 3 minutes are disqualified. Without further ado, we will start the 3MT presentations. Flipping on my page to make sure I don't get this wrong. Could I please, from the wonderful Faculty of Education, welcome the wonderful Jeffrey G to stage. Whoop.
Testing. Good afternoon, class. Welcome to Year 9 Humanities class. Today, we are learning about Australian democracy. Write down one sentence in English to show your understanding of democracy. You want to write in another language? I'm not sure how I can read it. Could you please try your best to write in English? Democracy sounds like a joke to you because of the place that your parents come from. I hear you, but could we please focus on this task for now? Panic, stress, uncertainty. This is what teaching in a culturally and linguistically diverse classroom can feel like, and this white piece of paper symbolizes that moment. On my first day of my teaching placement, I made a detailed lesson plan. By the time I walked into my classroom, 25 students came from 18 different cultures. At that time, my lesson plan feels like this white paper. This white paper represents a gap between what I thought I knew and what I needed. It also represents that our pre-service teachers standing in front of the classroom by themselves with the tools that doesn't fit the realities of diversity. Australian classrooms are more diverse than ever. 1 in 3 students speaks a language other than English at home. They bring rich knowledge, unique experiences, and lived stories, especially in our social science subject. However, 1 in 5 teachers leave this profession within 5 years of teaching, and I am one of them. We walk in with strategies. We walk away with vulnerabilities, and nobody talks about this vulnerability. Here's how I begin my research. My qualitative study includes 10 pre-service teachers and the teaching experiences in multicultural classrooms, including their reflective journal and interview data, to see how they navigate the white paper moment. Here are 2 important findings. First, my research found that those barriers were real and painful. However, this white paper is also an opportunity, a chance to reimagine teacher education, and a space to move beyond the plan. And second, this isn't just about planning perfect lessons. It's more about keeping our passionate teacher in this profession and ensuring every single child in Australia is seen, heard, and taught by someone who understands them. They are our next generation, and they will shape our Australian future. This white paper was supposed to guide me. Instead, it becomes my turning point. Because when the plan runs out, when the page goes blank, that's when the real teaching and learning begins. Thank you.
What an incredible presentation. I wish my high school teachers were that charismatic, Jeffrey. Full disclosure, I do know Jeffrey quite well. That was definitely an okay joke for me to make. Next up, we have the candidate that I suspect has travelled the furthest to be here tonight, the wonderful Yash from IITB-Monash, who is also studying a PhD in collaboration with Monash Art Design and Architecture. Enjoy the wonderful Yash.
What if I asked you to attend my entire talk with your head pointing downwards? Seems annoying, isn't it? Don't worry, this was just to give you a glimpse of what it feels like to have a head drop, which is just one of the many symptoms of ALS. ALS, or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, affects the nerve cell in the brain and the spinal cord, causing the body to lose its function, one muscle at a time. And without assistive devices, even the simplest tasks like moving your limbs to lifting your head seems very difficult. But here's the problem. Most assistive devices used in ALS are discarded by their patients. And this is due to two overwhelming challenges. Let's start with the first one. There are hardly any assistive devices built specifically for ALS. Now, ALS affects 3 in 100,000 people globally. But you'd be surprised to know that almost all of the devices used in ALS are borrowed from other diseases, such as stroke and trauma. Imagine the mismatch. So in my PhD, I spent months with ALS patients in Australia and India to learn about their nuanced needs from their lived experience. And in the process, I identified the key parameters that are essential to make a truly patient-centric devices. I found that the device need not just be answering their physical needs, but also their psychological needs. Like they wanted their device to have dignity and not just draw sympathy. Coming to the second challenge, the symptoms of ALS continuously decline, and for some, it could be as early as within a week, and this creates a serious problem. Say a patient experiences head drop, they'll have to rely on a traditional neck collar, but this collar will soon become useless as it will fail to adapt to the evolving symptoms. So, to answer this, I developed a new head and neck support collar, and this was done in a close collaboration with patients who brought in their lived experiences and doctors who brought clinical validation. What makes this collar unique is that it respects the patient dignity by allowing them to choose how it looks. It can be totally discreet, or it can be a piece of self-expression. It can also be handmade by patients or clinicians themselves, increasing its access to a much wider audience. And lastly, every single component of this collar can be modified, making it adaptable to the changing symptoms of ALS. Now, this collar was not just built for ALS, but with ALS patients. And beyond ALS, this research can be applied to many other conditions with evolving symptoms, such as Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, and even old age, making the lives of a lot more people a little less painful. So the next time the head drops, it should be for a namaste.
I very much doubt there was any head dropping in the audience just then. So a really incredible presentation. Next up from the Faculty of Law, the very wonderful Nusrat.
Have you ever thought about why money is important in addressing climate risks in the developing countries? According to the UN scientific body on climate change, the developing countries, despite having the lesser contribution to the global warming problem, are facing the devastating impacts of it. For example, floods or rising sea levels. Moreover, those countries do not have enough financial capacity to recover from such climate-related risks. Rather, they need financial support. And here lies the question of justice. Who will give them finance and how? It has been a matter of concern between the developed and developing countries since the 1990s at the UN Climate Conference. Even the latest session of that conference, held in 2024, had a discussion on scaling up the amount of climate finance, which you can see on the slide. In this context, my thesis examines the governing procedure of the multilateral climate funds through a justice lens. Here, I explore whether the socioeconomic needs and the climate-related risks of the developing countries are effectively tackled by those funds. In doing so, it begins with establishing a conceptual framework of climate justice based on law for strengthening the financial capacity of the developing countries. I apply this conceptual framework to the selected climate funds, for example, the Green Climate Fund as case study. While investigating the case studies, I adopt a critical approach to analyze the governing documents and existing business rules of the selected funds. For example, the fund disbursement rules, to understand their implications in the recipient countries, such as whether the funds are facilitating the climate action of those countries. In brief, my thesis is spatial in nature to investigate several climate funds, including the newly established UN Loss and Damage Fund from the perspective of developing countries' needs. My initial finding is that the current scenario of global climate finance is far behind what is required to address climate change. Following that, I will come up with some recommendations to ensure fair and equitable governance of the selected funds, hoping that it will inform the concerned authority for policy reform. Thank you.
Next up, from the Faculty of Medicine, Nursing and Health Sciences, and without any further ado, the wonderful Nina.
Imagine a world where the leading cause of death is preventable. Cardiovascular disease, including heart attacks and strokes, is the leading cause of death, which affects many of us, either personally or through someone we know. And that's why I want to focus on preventing it. So how do we maintain good cardiovascular health? Our cardiovascular system includes our heart and our blood vessels, and it's like a delicate machine, constantly working really hard to keep us going and fuels every part of our body. At the core of maintaining good cardiovascular health is our endothelial lining. It's the inner lining of our blood vessels, our veins and our arteries. And you can think of it like the non-stick Teflon coating on a frying pan. When that coating is smooth and intact, everything slides through easily and nothing sticks. And that's what we want our endothelial lining to be like. But if that pan gets scratched or worn down, food sticks. And the same thing happens in our blood vessels. When our endothelial lining gets damaged, fat sticks, and it can build up and over time lead to both clots and blockages, blocking the blood flowing, for example, to our heart, causing a heart attack, or to our brain, causing a stroke. My PhD is all about exploring which foods can actually repair our endothelial lining, because when that lining is healthy and intact, it helps prevent cardiovascular disease. We know that certain fats in processed food and red meat damages our endothelial lining. But in contrast, foods like blueberries, walnuts and vegetables can repair it. So what is it that these repairing foods have in common? Well, a key nutrient is fibre. And we already know that fibre is good for our gut. Fibre gets fermented by gut bacteria to produce these substances which benefit parts of our cardiovascular system. So my project asks, can increasing fibre intake, which comes from fruits, vegetables, beans, whole grains, nuts and seeds, repair our endothelial lining even more effectively? And that is what I'm testing. As a dietitian, I'm working with people at risk of cardiovascular disease. I'm getting them to eat more of these fibre-rich foods. Then, using ultrasound, I measure improvements in their endothelial lining, so how smooth and intact and healthy it's becoming. Cardiovascular disease may be the world's biggest killer. But if a fibre-rich diet can enhance the repair of that lining, it could be a simple, powerful tool to prevent more heart attacks and strokes, and even save lives. Thank you.
I hope you're all as excited as I am. Our next finalist hails from the Wildcard winner, but I believe is from the Faculty of Science. Please welcome the wonderful Astrid to the floor.
High stakes on the high seas, all about flippers. The ocean is bountiful. It is teeming with life, and that's the motive. For on 8 separate occasions across time, groups of mammals, birds, and reptiles went back into the ocean, adapting to a fully marine lifestyle, complete with flippers. Now, 3 of these groups, the dolphin-like ichthyosaurs, the snake-like mosasaurs, and the Loch Ness 4-flippered plesiosaurs, are sadly extinct. They died out at the end of the age of the dinosaurs. But what were these animals really like? And why, oh why, is it that these very, very different groups evolved very similarly shaped flippers? My research finds out in a 4-step process: forms, function, fossils, and flow. Forms is all about the shape of the flippers. I landmarked and put geometric points on each of the 156 living species with flippers to geometrically compare them. Functions then takes that shape analysis and compares it to a wide range of factors, including how fast they swim, their favorite foods, swim depth, to see if there are any statistical significant factors there. Fossils then extends this even further with some very, very special specimens that have the soft tissue outlines of the fossils preserved. Flow then finally cranks the engineering up to 11 by inputting these 3D models of these flippers into simulations that allow me to look at the lift and drag values of the flippers. Will we find significant relationships? Amazing. It implies a fundamental understanding between the form and function of flippers. Will we not? Also incredible, because it means that we might be looking in the wrong place, placing too much emphasis on flipper shape as an indicator of behavior. The impacts of my research are absolutely profound. It is not just a window into the past, but it's a glimpse into the future. When we look at renewable energies, one of the most important things that we look at are propellers and wind turbines that need to be more efficient. And understanding how flippers work in the natural world allows us to design these features to be even better for the environment and the animals that live in it. My research may be heating up, but for now I am finished. Thank you very much.
We are not finished yet, for sure. Up next from the Faculty of Arts, we have the wonderful Naisha.
Imagine you have a brown envelope. Inside it, everything that matters to you. Your national ID, your passport, your tax file number, or even your Medicare. Now, imagine handing it over to Big Brother. Let's call him Albo. You give it to Albo because you have to. If not, you cannot file your taxes. You cannot access your healthcare. Or, if you're from international community, you cannot even be here in this room. But don't worry, he promises he'll take care of it. But then, Albo gets your envelope stolen. Everything spilled out, copied, sold, passed around. How would you feel about that? Angry? Or betrayed? But what if I tell you that this isn't hypothetical? What if this already happened? Just not with a brown envelope, but with online forms, digital systems, and hacker-caused government data breaches. I'm Nasya, And my work explores what happens when the government loses your personal data over and over again. In Indonesia, these sorts of breaches have affected millions. You'd expect public outrage, right? But that's not what I found. I ran interviews, focus groups, and a national survey, and what emerges is something much more unsettling. People weren't shocked. They weren't protesting. They were shrugging. Oh, well, it is what it is. This isn't apathy. It's data breach fatigue, the slow numbing of public emotions in the face of repeated state failure. And this matters because if the people stop caring, then the government stops responding. My research shows that emotional disengagement may become a systemic risk by enabling neglect, eroding democratic accountability, and weakening cybersecurity from within. By revealing this pattern, my work offers insight to policymakers and law enforcement that public engagement is the missing link in national cybersecurity strategies. However, my research also warns that if we keep normalizing failure, we'll soon stop expecting protection. And when that happens, all that's left is resignation. So, the next time you hand over your digital brown envelope to Albo, you might want to ask if it's safe or not. Thank you.
Up next from the Faculty of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, the wonderful Tobias.
As it was told, in the myths of old, there was a beast that plagued the lands of ancient Greece. It ravaged the countryside. It ate cattle and sheep and even lonely travelers. The beast was said to have the forepart of a lion, the rear of a serpent, and the midst of a goat. The beast that you see here before you was known as Chimera. Now in front of it, in white, although they don't quite look the same, is also a chimera. That is a molecular chimera. And it's far from the evil monster that I've just described. In fact, it's a kind of chimera that scientists are using to save lives. Let me explain. Behind the beast in red and blue are things called proteins. The red one is the bad guy. It comes from a disease and it harms you. The blue one is the good guy, and it's found in every single cell in your body. When the red and blue proteins come together, the blue one causes the breakdown and removal of the red protein. Great, but this doesn't normally happen when we get sick. That's where our chimera comes in. It has one side like the head of the snake that holds on to the red protein, and one side like the lion that holds on to the blue protein. It brings them together nice and close and makes sure that that good guy can do its job and destroy the bad guy to keep you happy, healthy, and safe. In my work, I've used computers and chemistry to create new chimeras. I've made chimeras for a disease called age-related macular degeneration, or AMD, which is the leading cause of blindness in the world. And I've made chimeras for a disease called COVID-19, which, well, I don't have to tell you what that one is, do I? Using chimeras, we can create medicines to stop diseases that have plagued society and puzzled scientists for centuries, and to stop diseases that don't even exist yet, but could become serious threats like COVID was. So, as it was told, in the myths of old, there was a hero, Bellerophon, who rode atop his flying horse Pegasus and slayed the mighty chimera. Now I, and scientists like me, can harness the power of chimeras and slay the sicknesses of the world.
Our next finalist has travelled quite a ways to be here tonight from Monash Uni, Malaysia, from the faculty or the School of Science, I believe, in Malaysia. Wonderful Harry to join the stage.
Who here loves itchy skin? No one does. But what if that itch comes with red, dry, and cracked skin that never seems to go away? This is the reality of eczema, the most burdensome skin disease globally. Eczema affects up to 20% of children and 10% of adults, leaving over 230 million people in constant discomfort. It impacts self-image, disrupts daily life, and increases the risk of anxiety, depression, and skin infections. For treatment, they are mostly moisturizers that require frequent reapplication as they dry out quickly and can be removed by clothing or sweat. My PhD addresses this by developing a skin patch for localized eczema. It stays on longer, so you reapply less. Made from 100% natural sugars and proteins, like bacterial cellulose and gelatin, it contains no skin-sensitive additives and is reinforced with halosites, a natural clay mineral. These combine to create a biodegradable and sustainable hydrogel skin patch that costs less than $1. Sleep is when the skin should recover, but in eczema, it often gets worse. The skin dries out and unintentional scratching worsens damage. As waking up to reapply moisturizers is impractical, our patch provides continuous hydration as it consists of nearly 90% water. It also protects from scratching to allow healing. You might wonder, if it's mostly water, is it too soft? Thanks to the way the materials interact, our testing showed that it is flexible yet strong enough to resist damage during sleep and physical activity. But strength alone isn't enough. It needs to withstand conditions like showering and hand washing. This was tested, and it stays intact even in excess water. Finally, it turns transparent when it is time to replace, offering a visual cue. In terms of impact, we have filed patents on this material, loaded it with drugs, and pharmaceutical companies are interested in commercialization. This year, we tested in animals, and we're discussing clinical trial plans with dermatologists. Ultimately, this patch could be a game changer for eczema and for other skin conditions. Thank you.
I'm sure you can all agree, I think itchy skin is one of the worst ever. Next up, we have a candidate and finalist from the Faculty of Information Technology, or IT, the wonderful Pranita.
When I was a teenager, I had a small secret notebook. Every week, I stood in front of the mirror with a measuring tape, measuring my arms, thighs, and waist, writing down the numbers, hoping that they'd shrink. I didn't realize it back then, but this was formerly known as body checking, linked to body dissatisfaction and eating disorders. It took me years to break free from that unhealthy obsession with my own body. Sadly, today this and other harmful behaviors are everywhere online, only more sophisticated, more subtle, and even more dangerous, often created by content creators who are unaware of the harm that they are causing. This is the challenge at the heart of my research. Social media platforms are flooded with content related to body image and eating disorders. Some promote recovery. Some dangerously glorifies eating disorders. However, identifying harmful content isn't as simple as banning certain hashtags or keywords, because context is everything. The current harm detection systems often fail. They flag recovery stories as harmful while letting go of dangerous inspiration as wellness tips. Why? Because these systems rely on rigid rules and miss nuances of real human experience. That's why I'm developing a context-aware AI tool using customized large language model, which is the technology behind ChatGPT. Content can be uploaded to the system, and it will provide real-time feedback on potential harmful content. Through co-design process, I have worked with people with lived experience of eating disorders, researchers, clinicians, and eating disorder service providers. Their insights have helped shape what we define as harmful, what we define as safe, and how AI should respond to it. Through Delphi study, which is a process of bringing all these experts together to find consensus, we now have an agreed definition of harmful content that guides this AI. The result? We now have a more smarter, more compassionate tool that empowers content creators to critically reflect before posting, guides moderators to make informed decisions, and supports policymakers with evidence-based insights to balance freedom of expression with digital safety. If a tool like this had existed for me back then, maybe I would have paused and questioned whether my worth could really be measured in centimeters. Thank you.
Our next candidate has had to travel, perhaps not as far as some of our other candidates or finalists, but the wonderful Saba is from Monash Art Design and Architecture. Welcome Saba to the stage right now.
Have you ever lived in a building that was too cold in winter, too hot in summer, and too expensive to run? Maybe it was also drafty or moldy, too dark or too bright. On a sick day, it would make you feel worse, and you had nowhere else to go. In my PhD, I argue that in the face of climate change, we all need housing that is healthy, comfortable, and energy efficient, and that we already have a lot of good technical solutions for this. But if we really want to make it happen and fight climate change, we need to deeply retrofit our buildings and our lifestyles. Just making new sustainable buildings is not going to be enough. My research found that one of the things we need for this change is a new systemic approach that focuses on how energy retrofits interact with people's everyday lives and local ecosystems. I also found that people's desire for better health, comfort, and productivity highly influences their energy-related decisions and behaviors. In response to these issues, I'm proposing a set of principles that I'm calling the Sustained Regeneration Framework. I developed this framework by reviewing previous research on energy retrofits, and I'm refining it through case studies of successful models, plus site visits and interviews with both experts and everyday residents. The Sustained Regeneration Framework puts care for people and the planet front and center. It asks us to deeply understand the local context of energy retrofits in terms of social and ecological systems. It prioritizes engaging people and learning about their everyday lives to make sure that new policies and incentives are aligned with their reality. And it encourages experimentation so that practical solutions can be adapted, sustained, and scaled over time. This framework could be used by anyone, from policymakers to homeowners, designers, or, I don't know, you. And it can help, for example, your local council to deeply understand your struggles and aspirations. It can help them talk to the right people, ask the right questions, and connect you to the right services and tradies, so that instead of one-size-fits-all solutions, like solar panels, they could use their budget to support renovations that actually matter to you, like maybe fixing your windows or improving insulation, so that we all can finally have housing that actually feels like home. Thank you.
With a few more to go, from the Faculty of Engineering, the wonderful Ravee.
Peace and quiet it's hard to find in all the pressure and noise that surrounds us. You might not realize it, but right now you're all under a lot of pressure. The pressure in this room is around 100,000 pascals. That's how we measure pressure. But our ears, they can detect pressure changes down to 0.00002 pascals. Those tiny pressure fluctuations are why you can hear my voice and why you look up when a plane flies overhead. Sound is a change in pressure. My PhD is on the jet noise problem. The problem is that they're loud and we don't know exactly why. The sound we hear is a minuscule fraction of the energy in a jet. It's 1/10 billionth. I actually did the maths, and that is exactly the probability of finding a needle in a haystack. Like needles, sound can be painful. Jet noise is linked to lower reading comprehension scores in schools and increased risk of cardiovascular disease and mental health disorders. Each year, more planes crowd the skies, impacting more lives. We can hear jet noise, but my research helps us see it, like the red and blue contours behind the plane. What's creating sound is hidden in the random little unpredictable motions following a jet, called turbulence. The issue is, no one really understands turbulence. Most of its energy goes to flying the plane, not generating sound. I search within the turbulence for that 1/10 billionth, the needle that we hear. Looking closely at a round hay bale, like turbulence, it's a chaotic mess with little bits of hay pointing in different directions. But take a step back, and there are these ring-like patterns. This large-scale organization is also found in turbulent jets. It's called coherent structure. With computer modeling, I find these coherent structures, like the red and blue swirl, and calculate how much sound they create. The maths behind aeroacoustics is complicated, but essentially, I use equations that act like a powerful magnet. The magnet ignores hay or random turbulence and attracts the needle, pulling out the sound. My work is uncovering the coherent structures responsible for jet noise. Using this knowledge, we can find and remove the needle in the haystack. So the next time a plane flies overhead, it'll sound like this. Peace and quiet.
What an amazing series of speakers. I'm sure all of our candidates in the room can say that they're feeling the pressure somewhat tonight as well. With the third last finalist here tonight, from the Monash University Accident Research Centre, the wonderful Mayssaa.
Imagine you're driving, you're running late, approaching a signalized intersection. The lights turn to amber. You have few seconds to decide what you do, and you decided to speed up a little bit just to beat up the light. And boom, you've been caught by a fixed-speed camera. It's not the perfect scenario, but it happens. Walking away with a very big fine, you might start questioning the effectiveness of those speed cameras. Do they really prevent crashes? Are they really placed at a very high-risk location? Well, I won't kid you. It's a very controversial topic, and many people in our community perceive those speed cameras as a revenue-raising tools for the government. One might be easy to convince them that those speed cameras prevent crashes. It's harder to convince them why they are placed at this particular location, not somewhere else. I wanted to explore this dilemma, the dilemma of site selection process of fixed-speed camera, through a scientific-based evidence lens. My research found that fixed-speed cameras at signalized intersection can prevent crashes of all types by 15%. Not only that, but also adjacent crashes and right-turn crashes by 30%. But the main question remains, where do they work the best? Well, In order to be able to answer this question, I've conducted an analysis to assess the effectiveness of fixed-speed cameras at signalized intersection before and after installation, and tried to link it to how road attributes impact their effectiveness. I've analyzed more than 1,500 signalized intersections, more than 30,000 crashes over the last 3 decades in Victoria. And the results were very clear. Fixed-speed cameras at signalized intersections are the most effective where we have intersections with narrower width, which means less number of lanes, simpler geometry design like T-intersections, higher traffic volumes, and speed zones of 40, 60, or 80 kilometers per hour. Then I've weighted those attributes and developed a formula, and this formula will save lives. It will allow the Department of Justice, who operates those cameras, to be able to rank and prioritize the signalized intersections in Victoria based on their potential crash saving. So, the next time you're driving, you see a fixed-speed camera, slow down, smile, and remember, it doesn't only catch speeders, but also it catches tragedies before they occur, and it saves our lives. Thank you.
An incredible variety of talks tonight from all of our finalists. We have 2 more finalists to go in the 3-minute thesis competition. Second to last, from the Faculty of Science, the wonderful Zara.
I want you all to look at some object in front of you. Now try to picture the atoms from which it is made from. Where do these atoms come from? Well, all the atoms that are heavier than lithium were forged by stars. Stars forge new elements by taking 2 light particles and then squeezing them together until they stick. This is known as nuclear fusion. And when a star dies, they release their newly forged elements into the surrounding universe. Now, when you picture the death of a star, many of you are probably imagining a massive supernova explosion. But the majority of stars die peacefully. In a star's elderly years, they enrich their outer layers with their newly forged elements before quietly blowing themselves away. They die not in a massive explosion, but in a big, puffy cloud. Now, of course, in reality, it is not quite that simple. When we look up at stars in the sky, we find that at least half of them have a partner. These are called binary stars. Stars within binaries often act like married couples. They can enrich each other. They could ignore each other. Or they could rip each other to pieces. My thesis explores binary stars and how their relationship dynamics can alter their ability to contribute to the chemical enrichment of the universe. Can stars joined in holy matrimony work together to forge new elements? Now, to answer this question, I run computer simulations of millions of single and binary stars. And from my models, we can learn how these stars evolve and what elements they produce. For example, one important element is carbon. Carbon is in our food. Carbon is in the air. It is even in our DNA. Without carbon, life as we know it would simply not be possible. And for most stars to make carbon, they need to die peacefully in old age. Now, my models show that in a population of binary stars, there are about 30% fewer stars surviving through to their elderly years compared to a population of only single stars. A rare few explode in a supernova, but the majority die prematurely. And this correlates in our binary population, ejecting up to 40% less carbon than our single star population. And it's not only carbon that gets impacted. We see a similar decrease in the production of fluorine, which keeps our teeth healthy, and even in the production of some very heavy elements, such as lead. Now, it is important to note that there are some successful couples. Stars can work together to forge lots of iron, which most stars cannot do in single. But since a large portion of binaries sabotage each other, my results show it is much harder than we initially thought for stars to forge the building blocks of life and Earth, which we know today. Thank you.
What a captivating series of speakers. Our final finalist, but by no means the least, from the Faculty of Business and Economics, the wonderful Alamanda.
Women are the face of poverty. Yeah, it's a heartbreaking reality, but one that still holds true in many parts of the world today. And one of the driving forces behind this issue is gender inequality. Recognized as one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, gender inequality is not just a social or political issue. It also distorts economies, limits growth, and prevents countries from reaching their full potential. In Indonesia, the challenge is clear. Women contribute only 1/3 of the total income. Their labor force participation rate is 30 percentage points lower than men's, and they're also overrepresented in informal sector. At the same time, gender inequality may also limit Indonesia's ability to fully capitalize upon a demographic bonus, where 178 million Indonesians fall within the productive working age bracket. And guess what? Half of them are women. So, to address this issue, the Indonesian Ministry of Finance has committed through implementing gender-responsive tax policy. But here's the catch. The current tax system is still categorized as gender neutral, meaning that the tax policy do not differentiate between male and female taxpayers. And more importantly, there has been no comprehensive evaluation of how existing tax policy may be reinforcing gender inequality. Now, speaking as someone who works within the tax administration for over 18 years, I can tell you that our institution has 3 top priorities. The first one, achieving the tax revenue target. The second one, achieving the tax revenue target. And the third one is also achieving tax revenue target. What I mean by this is that gender equality is not in our top agenda. And that's exactly why I'm doing this research. This thesis aims to reframe the conversation from a tax administrator's perspective by presenting empirical evidence that reducing gender inequality is not just socially or morally right, it's also fiscally smart. So, to achieve this goal, this thesis employs a micro-simulation model using 200,000 individual level data from the National Labor Force Survey to estimate the potential gain in income tax revenue if gender inequality were reduced. Ultimately, I hope this research could provide valuable insight that might just help move gender equality a little closer to the top of the tax agenda. Thank you.
What an amazing series of finalists and speeches tonight. That brings us to the end of the 3-minute thesis finalists. Our PhD candidates, as those of you in the room, especially academics like me, will know that our PhD candidates are the researchers of the future, and I think we can all agree that the future of research is in very, very safe hands, in good hands indeed. Could I please ask one final round of applause for all of our presenters tonight? Our wonderful judges now have the unenviable task of trying to make a decision about how to award tonight's competition. So I believe our judges will now head off shortly to deliberate backstage. Is that correct? Your understanding, judges? All good. Just making sure. In the meantime, and to sort of, sort of hide away from while the judges are sort of disappearing backstage, you might know that tonight we also have the People's Choice Award, which is chosen by all of you, either physically here in the room at Clayton Campus tonight, or those of you joining online, watching from the live stream. I believe in a few moments, graduate research staff will put a QR code on the screen. Please scan that with your phones and enter your choice for the People's Choice winner of tonight's 3MT competition. I believe the QR code will stay on slide for about 5 minutes or so. When it comes off slide, or off the screens, or off the virtual platforms, at that point we will then close voting and get ready to sort of continue with the Visualize Your Thesis competition as well. But I'll see you all again very shortly. Hello. If you can't tell from the change in slides on screen right now, voting has now closed. I hope you voted early and often. Can I say that in this audience? Maybe not. In any case, while we're still waiting for the judges to return from their deliberations, I do want to welcome the wonderful president of the Monash Graduate Association, Yuan, who's going to give her version of a 3-minute thesis tonight and to share some insights about the MGA's recent survey results. I'll pass over my microphone now.
Good evening, everyone, but my version will be with the notes. First of all, congratulations to all the contestants and your wonderful speeches that are so inspiring. I am Ewan, president of Monash Graduate Association, MGA. For those who may not know us, MGA is the representative body for all graduate students across Monash campuses. Our primary goal is that we work with the university to improve all graduate students' experience. Since 2019, MGA has conducted annual survey to understand our graduates' experience. In 2014, several other Australian universities joined our survey, giving us comparative insights. Our survey covers a range of themes such as your satisfaction with degree and mental health. Today, I'll be sharing some key findings from last year, specifically focusing on HDR students. So first, supervision is one key aspect. We invited HDR students to rate various aspects of their supervision, and most of the important skilled supervisors is by far the most important factor for students to be satisfied with. And the good news is that overall, Monash supervisors meet our HDR students' expectations. But there are two areas that stood out: career planning and networking opportunities. Many students are concerned with limited exposure to industry. This is specifically relevant given limited opportunities in academia and more graduates going into industry. It is clear that we need stronger career preparation for a broader range of future pathways. Second, we also found that imposter syndrome, meaning feeling self-doubt, low self-esteem, and fear of success, fear of failure, is very common among our HDR students, including myself. Mental health were the most common reason students consider leaving their PhD. That's not what we want to hear. If you're struggling or feeling uncertain, please reach out to your supervisors and counselors, and also reach out to us, MGA. We provide service that support you throughout your journey at Monash. Based on the survey this year, we're actively advocating for better integration of career services and mental health to provide support into your PhD experience. This year, we've launched a new survey on health, family, and finances. So you should have received it by email already. If you haven't completed yet, please consider doing so, because we want to hear your voices, and your voices are going to make a difference to HDR Monash community. Thank you for listening.
Amazing. Unlike the other finalists tonight, we weren't actually timing that one, but thank you for being so punchy. We will now move to the second half of tonight's ceremony event and the Visualise Your Thesis competition. The Visualise Your Thesis, or VYT, is a competition that asks participants to create an engaging 60-second audiovisual representation of their thesis that can be received by a general audience. By participating, our competitors have developed digital and research communication skills which are becoming increasingly crucial in today's research landscape and what we might call the attention economy. The top 6 entries from this year will be showcased tonight. We'll play them on the screens in just a moment. And the winner will progress to the virtual VYT international competition in October. The Visualise Your Thesis entries have been prejudged, and I'd like to thank our judges for their time in doing so. We will now begin, without further ado, the VYT presentations, and I'm going to stay on stage this time, and I'm going to stand over the one side, so at least I can see in the videos here as well. So I believe first up from the Faculty of Education, and I'm told is watching right now from Sydney, the wonderful Rochelle.
Every week, I watch piano students shine bright. One lesson in the studio and everything's just right. But then comes 6 days with no teacher to guide, and the spark from their lesson starts to subside. Little hands at keyboards, they're trying on their own. There's no one there to guide them, they're practicing alone. Some kids keep going, but some fall off track. Not from lack of effort, it's support that they lack. Some have musical families, but others fall behind. And that's the gap that my research wants to bind. Because when practice fades, so does the spark. And music, once joyful, grows distant and dark. What if we can gamify the way that children play? Give them all the tools they need to practice every day. No matter what their family knows about the keys, every child can grow with equal guarantees. Because every child deserves to let their music shine. Not just during lessons, but in their home time. When practice feels right, their confidence grows. And that's the kind of future I want to compose.
What an absolutely wonderful, wonderful, presentation. Because this has been prejudged, we can just move straight through them. So, judges have pre-written their feedback. We'll now move to Pasindu from the wonderful Faculty of Engineering.
"3D printing personalized nutrition. Most supplements get destroyed before they do any good, especially when you need oil-soluble and water-soluble nutrients together. A hydrogel can carry nutrients that like water, and oleogels handle ones that like oil. Bigels blend both these worlds in a single, stable network. Now we can lock hydrophilic and lipophilic bioactives in the same customized dose. I 3D print that bigel. Shear thinning lets it flow, so I can print any shape I need. These 3D printed bigel carriers can release nutrients where and when they're needed. Back in the lab, I test viscosity, texture, and print fidelity to optimize the recipe. The result? A stable and printable bigel with controlled release. Next, I'll print advanced geometries to fine-tune any release profile a patient or an athlete or anyone might need. One printed bigel tuned to your nutritional needs."
No small feat to make Play-Doh look so clean and so well put together. Our next presentation from the Faculty of Information Technology, or FIT, the wonderful Tasdik.
Abdullah is 26, deaf and from Bangladesh. In my first PhD workshop, I asked him, "Do you know the science of depression?" He replied, "Words like that don't exist in our language. No one's ever asked about my mental health." He said they use just 4 signs to express emotions: sadness, joy, pain, and liking. That moment changed everything. It made me think of the 466 million deaf people worldwide, many who can't express emotions simply because the signs don't exist, and how that absence of language creates a barrier to care. That's exactly what my PhD is working to change. We are co-creating the first Bangla mental health sign language bank, adding signs for anxiety, grief, and hope. We have built digital flyers and videos designed with deaf people for deaf people. This is more than research. It's a call to listen to those we have never truly heard.
Incredibly powerful and really important work. Next, from the Faculty of Medicine, Nursing and Health Sciences, Aman.
This is your brain on a good day. Healthy, balanced, happy. But sometimes, there's too much excitement and boom, seizures. Doctors often prescribe anti-seizure meds, our brain's first line of defense, and 70% of the patients become seizure-free. However, for 30% of patients, medications don't work, causing recurrent seizures. This is called drug-resistant epilepsy, and it often comes with high mortality rates. With no known cause, this condition is tough to treat. Enter the gut-brain axis. These besties chat through tiny chemicals that help with mood, stress, and seizures. But if the gut's off balance, bad bugs take over, good ones drop, and harmful chemicals can leak into the blood, reach the brain, and may play a role in drug resistance. I plan to track down these tiny troublemakers, their DNA and targets. Why? To swap the pharmacy buffet for custom meds that actually work. Because the gut and brain are better together.
Some incredibly dramatic music for that one. From Monash Art Design and Architecture in the wonderful Sensi Lab, Eileen.
Artificial intelligence is no longer something we just use. It is something we live with. From how we live, work, and think to how we see ourselves, intelligent systems are shaping our choices and ultimately our culture. My research explores this perceptual dynamic, asking, what does it mean to be seen by intelligent systems? Through immersive multisensory installations, I create encounters where people come face to face with AI as it watches, responds, and reflects back its interpretation, asking, is this beautiful or unsettling? And who is really in control? Exposing how this technology is not separate from us, but is becoming a fundamental aspect of who we are. My research asks, how can we actively shape our relationship with this evolving technology instead of passively adapting? And how might we engage with greater awareness by designing ways of living that are thoughtful, intentional, and informed?
Incredible, immersive installations here. Again, from Monash Art Design and Architecture, but joining us and watching from Indonesia, the wonderful Risti.
Picture a squirrel trying to cross a busy city street, dodging the car. It might sound funny, but for many small animals, this is the daily struggle in the cities. The urban growth is breaking up the green spaces, isolating parks and trees from one another, such as what happened in Tangerang Selatan, the peri-urban area of Jakarta. The land transformation makes it harder for them to survive. That's why we map the urban green space connectivity by using high-resolution satellite imageries and local maps to model how these species move through the cities, using their specific traits such as habitat and dispersal distance. These models will help planners reconnect habitat by identifying the conservation area and possible pathway, and creating a biodiversity-friendly environment in cities where both people and nature can live together.
An amazing, amazing video and animation. Again, joining us and watching, I believe, from Monash, Malaysia, from the Faculty or School of Science, rather, Tang Wen Wen.
Climate change impacts farming, where soil degrades and loses essential nutrients. Nutrients leach into water and cause pollution. At the same time, poor soil leads to less plant growth, less food on our plates, and hunger in humans. But there's hope. A tiny organism, microalgae. They are everywhere, including freshwater, seawater, and even in the soil. You may wonder, where do they get nutrients? Here's a way. They act like sponge, soaking up essential plant nutrient, the nitrogen and phosphorus from the wastewater. This project harnesses microalgae and human innovation to recycle nutrients back into soil for crops. Instead of polluting rivers, nutrients return to the agricultural field. It helps plants grow stronger and healthier. That means more crops, less hunger, healthier ecosystem. This work aligns SDG 6, using microalgae to recover nutrients from wastewater, reducing pollution and restoring water ecosystem. And SDG 2, recycling nutrients to improve soil fertility and boost crop yield for smallholder farmers.
That brings us to the end of the Visualize Your Thesis entries or finalists that will be celebrated tonight. For those, and hopefully we can be loud enough for those joining us online to hear, can I please have one round of applause for our VYT finalists? I would also now like to invite Professor Nelly to the stage to present our VYT finalists with their certificates, and the VYT finalists who are in the room with us tonight, if you could come up on stage right now. For those of you watching remotely from overseas or elsewhere in Australia, our finalists who can't be here tonight will receive their certificates digitally or collect them on person when they're able to. But in the meantime, can I ask the VYT finalists and Nelly to join me on stage? Thank you for joining me on stage. I believe the certificates are in order, and the order is not the order you're standing in, so I'm sorry about this. But Persindu, I'd invite you to invite your certificate. Oh, do you want to... Do you want the microphone?
Yes, I think I should say something about how outstanding and how impressed we were by all of the Visualise Your Thesis applicants. The actual thought and inspiration that each and every one of you put into the presentations was actually outstanding. And we're really impressed by the digital mindset that everyone had. You've all taken a bit of a different approach, which I think is really novel and really interesting to make it accessible to a broader audience. And it was really difficult to judge these, and I thank all the judges who took part in judging these. It's always really challenging. But you should all be very proud of what you've achieved, and congratulations to all of you for being here. Okay, so I am pleased to announce the placings for the Visualise Your Thesis for 2025. I'll start with third place. The third place winner is Pandu Pereira. Thank you. There you go. Congratulations. There you go. And here is your certificate. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if I go to the second place, so our second place goes to Eileen Ing. Congratulations, Eileen. Thank you. There you go. And let me give you your certificate. Oh, sorry, there. Mixed up. There you go. Wonderful, congratulations. And the first place goes to Tasdiq Hassan. Congratulations. Wonderful. There you go. And there you go. And we'll take some photos.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Yes, absolutely. Supervisors, come up. That's wonderful. Thank you. You can't do it without the supervisors, right? Really critical. Which is this? Thank you very much. Okay, I think I give you the... And we've also got our... sorry, I think I'm... Have I made a mistake here? No. Oh, and this is a certificate for Iman. Iman, thank you very much. Congratulations to you too. Thank you very much. All right, I'll hand over now to our MC. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nellie. Fantastic. Nellie, I might ask you to stay on stage though, because now we're... Sorry, I'll get out of the photograph. But never fret, I'm about to ask our 3MT candidates to join me on stage as well, and I believe Nellie will have certificates very shortly to hand them as well. Yeah, you can hang out here if you want, or like, maybe head down stage and then we'll join you up at the end for a photo. Is that cool? You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. You know, just to make sure there's no prejudice in this system, we will ask the 3MT finalists to come up in the order they presented. The wonderful Jeffrey is first. Thank you. Wonderful. Yash. Yes, Jeffrey, if you want to hang out here for a moment, that would be great too. Nusrat. Nina. Astrid. Joined by a wonderful harpsil. Nasha, I believe you are next. Tobias? It's practice for your graduation ceremony. Harry? Harry? Excellent. Pranita? Excellent. Saba? Excellent. Ravee? Mayssaa? Zara? And last but definitely not least, Alamanda. Thanks once again to all our finalists tonight. I'm going to pass over the microphone to the wonderful Nelly because I do not want to do this job. So this is all on you, Nelly.
Thank you, thank you. Wow, what can we say? What an outstanding group of PhD 3-minute thesis presentations. That was absolutely outstanding. Another round of applause. I think I'm in this job because I love how you guys make the impact that you do, and the research that you do really, really makes such an impact to all of us globally. And we're really, really thankful for everything that you do and your supervisors do in order to make the successes that we see in the outputs and all the wonderful things that you do. So we've watched with immense pride today, not only these individuals here, but all of our graduate research students that we have at Monash University, and the impact that research makes for our broader community. Obviously, judging the 3-minute thesis is not an easy thing to do. It is very challenging, and there was a lot of debate in terms of trying to pick the winners. So we all saw the wonderful presentations, and it was really challenging. But before I announce the winner and the runner-up, I'd like to invite Ewan, the president of the Monash Graduate Association, on stage. Where are you, Ewan? Please come up on stage in order to hand the trophy to the 3-minute thesis People's Choice. So there you go. What a lovely trophy and a lovely gift that we have there. And so the winner of the People's Choice Award has been won by Pranita Shrestha. Congratulations, what an outstanding job. And everyone here voted for you, so that's wonderful, congratulations. Okay, now we're up to the runner-up. So this year's 3-minute thesis runner-up is Nina. Nina, where are you? Congratulations. Congratulations. Outstanding effort, so you should be very proud of yourself. Thank you very much. Okay, and now the winner of the 3-minute thesis. Do we have a drum roll? Maybe not, but yep, you can do that. So I'm pleased to announce that the winner of the 2025 3-minute thesis goes to Harry. Where are you? Congratulations. What a wonderful achievement. There you go. Really proud of you. Well done to you. And again, to all of our presenters today, trying to get my words out, and to your supervisors, what an outstanding job that you guys did. And again, congratulations, Harry, and we'll be watching you from afar as you go on to compete. So thank you, everyone. So of course, an event like this has many contributors, and we're very thankful to each and every one of you. And I'd like to extend my thanks to the faculty, professional and academic staff and judges for supporting the local competitions. Obviously, before everyone gets here, there are a lot of local competitions that occur. Thank you all for putting in the effort to manage those. Megan Deacon and Jenny Fafita from the Monash University Library for the Visualise Your Thesis compliance checks. Our students have had to meet very tight copyright regulations, so we thank you for the effort that you have taken in that process. My colleagues on the judging panel, Amy Glennon, thank you, and Alistair Hick, who have judged our Visualise Your Thesis entries but couldn't be here tonight. That was Fabian, who couldn't be here tonight, so thank you, Amy, for stepping in for him. Our Visualise Your Thesis shortlist and 3-minute thesis wildcard judging panel, Claire McCausland, Jane Marie Ma, and also Gary Pearce. Thank you again. The Monash Graduate Association for sponsoring our 3-minute thesis People's Choice Award. The staff at the Monash Performing Arts Centres for facilitating this event in this fabulous venue. Always lovely to come here. The team at CVP for live streaming this event so that those who couldn't be here in person tonight were able to tune in from all around the world. And so we thank you very much at the back for your support. And the team within the Monash Graduate Research Office who do an incredible job in bringing this together. I won't name you all, but you know who you are, and so thank you. This was a tremendous event, and it always goes so smoothly thanks to all the hard work that you put in. And finally, to our amazing MC, Troy McGee. Thank you, Troy, for stepping in as our MC tonight. We do have a small gift for you. Thank you very much, Troy, and we'll just get that for you. Thank you very much, and I'll give you the microphone so you can close the event. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh.
You've got your own microphone, even better.
Oh yeah, this one is working. Excellent. Yeah, no, I've got my own. It's funny. Thank you so much. These may not make it home, so thank you very much for the chocolates. Where we go from here tonight, folks, in bringing tonight's event to a close, for our finalists, thank you. Your contributions were amazing, and I think we're all incredibly impressed. Could I have one final round of applause for all our finalists in 3MT and VYT team? Our VYT finalists, if you want to come back up on stage, I know this is a bit school photo, but I promise your mum will really love it. Our VT winner tonight will go on to compete at the VYT Virtual International Final in October this year, where winners will be announced at the eResearch Australasia Conference. Further details will be forthcoming, so please stay tuned to the various Monash socials and emails to keep in place. Please also keep an eye out for the Trending on VYT competition, where prizes are up for grabs for the VYT International finalist whose video has the most views. This is a genuine competition where you want to vote early and often by watching, maybe on repeat, those Monash entries. More information will come either on Workplace or MSpace when that new platform goes live. Our 3MT winner will go on to compete at the 3MT Virtual Asia Pacific competition. The virtual semi-final showcase will be made live on September 22 with finalists announced on 3rd of October. Thanks once again. Congratulations once again to all of our finalists and participants in the VYT tonight. We'll bring tonight to a close, and thank you so much to our audience, both in person and online, for attending tonight's presentation as well. I might ask all of our presenters to hang out on stage, and I believe the judges as well, for a few photos. But thanks for tonight. This is the formalities done, so please enjoy the time and whatever canapes are left. So enjoy.